My name is Rowena Vexley. I'm 31 years old, a wife, a mother of two, and a successful real estate developer. I own a beautiful 5-bedroom home in a quiet neighborhood just outside Chicago. Every square foot of it built on my own grit, my own scars. I've spent over a decade clawing my way out of the dark hole my family tossed me into. And now, my father wants my house. Not just any house, my house. The one he didn't lift a finger to help me earn. The one I bought after rebuilding a life he helped destroy. He showed up after 16 years, looking older, slower, suddenly full of regret. But that wasn't even the punchline. He didn't come for closure. He came with my half-sister in tow, the golden girl he once disowned me for, and asked if I could let her have my house. No, really. He wanted me to give up my home so she could start her happily ever after. This is the same man who threw me out at 15, with a garbage bag and a warning not to ever show my face again. Now he wants back in, and what he doesn't know is, I remember everything. I remember the lie, the betrayal, the silence, and this time, I'm the one holding the door. I used to believe there was something wrong with me. When I was 7, my dad married a woman named Elaine. I still remember her lipstick the first day she moved in. Too red, too perfect. She brought sugar cookies and fake kindness and said she wanted to be my bonus mom. I didn't know what that meant. I was just a kid who missed my real mom, who had died of ovarian cancer when I was 4. My dad told me Elaine was a gift from God, a second chance at a family. For a while, I tried to believe that. She pretended to care at first, took me to ballet class once, helped me braid my hair. But the moment she had her own daughter, Justine, everything shifted. Suddenly, I was the loud one, the difficult one, the child who needed correcting. Justine, on the other hand, was delicate and sweet, and never at fault. Elaine made sure everyone saw her that way, especially my dad. My dad had always been hard on me, but after Justine was born, it turned ruthless. I'd bring home a B+, and he'd say, "Is that the best you can do?" Justine once brought home a C-, and Elaine clapped like she'd won an Olympic medal. "She's trying so hard," she cooed. Nobody asked if I was trying. No one noticed that I couldn't focus, couldn't sit still. Looking back, I probably had undiagnosed ADHD, but instead of helping me, Dad just yelled, "Why can't you be normal like your sister?" That became his favorite line. Elaine nodded along, always. He worked long hours back then, construction site manager, so I was alone with Elaine most evenings. That's when the games began. She'd forget to pack lunch for school, or accidentally shrink my favorite sweater in the wash. I once found her rubbing lipstick on my bedsheets, only for her to later drag my dad upstairs screaming, "Rowena's been sneaking makeup! Look what she's done!" I got grounded for a week. I was 9. I tried telling Dad she was doing things on purpose. He called me dramatic, said I was making trouble again. After a while, I stopped saying anything. She was good, too good. The way she twisted every story, every incident to make me look like a burden. The way she positioned herself as the long-suffering stepmother trying so hard. She had him wrapped around her finger. He didn't just believe her. He worshipped her. Justine was their little sunbeam. I was the cloud that ruined family photos. It sounds small when I say it out loud. Forgotten lunches, fabricated messes. But when it happens every day, when it makes you question your own memory, your own worth, it's not small. It's slow, invisible poison. And I was drinking it by the gallon. I started staying later at school, hiding out in the library, even volunteering to clean whiteboards just to avoid going home. My teachers thought I was dedicated. Really, I just couldn't bear another evening walking on eggshells around a woman who smiled like she pitied me and a father who never looked up from his coffee. I wasn't safe in that house. I just hadn't realized yet how bad it would get. It was just another Wednesday. I remember because Justine had to piano that afternoon, which meant I didn't have to walk her home. I took the long way through Lincoln Park, trying to breathe for once. That's when I saw Elaine. She was standing by the gazebo, pressed up close to a man in a suit. Grant. He'd been to our house before. I remember the way he always smiled too much, like he had a secret. I never liked him. Then they kissed. Not an innocent kiss. The kind of kiss people have when they think no one's watching. I froze. My stomach flipped. Then I ran. I didn't tell anyone. What was the point? My word meant nothing in that house. I'd be labeled jealous or dramatic. Elaine had spent years painting me as unstable, angry, hard to love. But things started clicking into place. Justine didn't look like either of them. Her hair was auburn, her eyes a shade too green. She looked like Grant. Then one night, I caught Elaine on the phone, whispering to someone. "He still thinks she's his. But we both know the truth," she said. I backed away before she noticed me. My hands were shaking. My throat burned with everything I couldn't say. That's when she started watching me. If I sat near Justine, Elaine appeared. If I helped with homework, she pulled her away. She was setting something up. I didn't know what, but I knew it was coming. And then, it did. I came home from school to 2 police cars. Elaine was sobbing on the couch, putting on the performance of a lifetime. My dad stood in the corner, red-faced and furious. They accused me of touching Justine. I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. I just kept shaking my head, whispering no, no, no. I told them Elaine was lying, that I saw her with another man, that she was trying to get rid of me. But my father didn't hear a word. He called me disgusting, said I was dead to him, threw a garbage bag at me, and told me I had 10 minutes to leave. I was 15. Elaine clutched Justine like I was a monster, while Justine looked scared and confused. I tried to grab my Game Boy, but my dad yanked it out of my hands. "Everything in this house is mine," he said. So I left. A trash bag of clothes, a backpack, $42 in my wallet, and a house full of people who never wanted me in the first place. The first night, I slept behind a gas station dumpster. It was early spring, still cold at night. I wrapped myself in the thin hoodie I had grabbed from the laundry pile and tried not to cry. But the tears came anyway. I'd never felt so invisible, so discarded. I kept hearing my dad's voice. "You're dead to me." That sentence rang in my skull like a hammer blow. I couldn't go to any friends' houses. Elaine had gotten ahead of me, told everyone I was troubled, dangerous. One mom slammed the door in my face before I even said a word. I found shelter in an abandoned warehouse by the train tracks. A few others stayed there, mostly older men who had lost jobs, homes, lives. One of them, a man named Tom, noticed me shivering under a pile of flattened boxes and offered me his extra blanket. Tom never asked questions. He just showed me how to survive, where to find places that handed out day-old bread, which fast food bathrooms didn't lock, how to look like you belonged even when you didn't. I learned quickly. Had to. Couldn't get a real job, too young, no ID. I scraped by cleaning gas station lots under the table. Sometimes I went 2 days without eating. Sometimes I ate from a trash can. The worst part wasn't hunger, though. It was the way people looked at me, like I was scum. After about 5 months, Tom told me he had a cousin in Chicago who managed restaurants. "You've got a brain," he said, "and fight, use it." He gave me the cousin's address and the last $40 he had. I didn't want to leave him. He was the closest thing to family I had. But he pushed me toward the bus stop. "You still got time, kid. Me, I'm too old to start over." I never saw Tom again. I arrived in Chicago exhausted, starving, and terrified, slept in the Greyhound station for a week. On the 7th day, I found the Italian restaurant Tom had scribbled on a napkin. Dave, the manager, looked me over like he wasn't sure what I was. I told him I'd clean anything. Dishes, bathrooms, floors. He let me start that night. For months, I slept in the back dry storage room. Just me, sacks of flour, and the constant hum of the walk-in fridge. But I had a job, a place to be. I scrubbed dishes until my fingers cracked. Then Dave taught me to prep vegetables, chop onions, stir sauces. The head chef, Marco, liked how fast I picked things up, taught me about cost margins, waste, inventory. At night, I went to the library, devoured books on business, management, real estate, anything that made me feel in control of something again. That's where I met Elliot. He was a regular, always polite, always curious. One day, he saw me reading a real estate finance book during break and asked me why. I told him I didn't want to wash dishes forever. He smiled. You won't. Turned out, Elliot was a business student. His father owned a property development firm. Elliot started asking me questions over coffee after shifts. What would you do with a vacant lot downtown? How would you redesign a failing retail center? I answered honestly. He always listened. One night he said, "You should meet my dad. He's looking for new voices." I panicked. I hadn't finished school, didn't even have a real resume. "You're smarter than most college grads I know," Elliot said. So I borrowed a wrinkled suit from Dave and went to the interview. I was shaking the entire time, but I knew my stuff. I talked numbers, zoning, local trends. By the end, Elliot's dad said, "Start Monday." That job changed everything. Within a year, I was helping manage projects. Within 3, I had my first investment property. I got my GED, took night classes, moved into a real apartment, started building a life. And all along, Elliot stayed close, supportive, steady. He never pushed, never asked too much. But he saw me. For the first time in my life, someone really saw me. It had been 16 years since I heard from my father. Then one afternoon, as I was sipping coffee in the office of my third property deal, a notification pinged on my phone. A friend request, from him. I stared at the screen for a full minute. His profile photo showed a man I barely recognized. Gray hair, heavier, eyes sunken. He looked old. Not the angry, commanding figure who had once told me I didn't exist, just a man past his prime. And the message? "Rowena, I know it's been a long time. I've made mistakes. Your sister misses you. Elaine and I would like a chance to explain. Please?" I showed the message to Elliot that night. He read it, jaw tightening. "You don't owe him anything," he said gently. But part of me wanted to know. Why now? After all this time? After all that silence? So I replied, "Why now?" His answer came quickly. Something about health scares, regret, reflection. And then the kicker. "Justine's getting married. They're looking for a home. We'd love to reconnect before then." The wording set off alarms. They're looking for a home? What did that have to do with me? Elliot warned me again. "You built this life. Don't let them reopen wounds they helped dig." But I said yes to the visit. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe some stubborn part of me still wanted to see him flinch when he realized what he'd done. They arrived that Saturday. My father looked smaller somehow, walking with a slight limp. Elaine looked unchanged. Same styled hair, same tight smile. Justine stood between them, now a woman in her 20s. She had Grant's chin, no doubt about it. They walked into my home like they had a right to be there. My father's eyes scanned the rooms with something between awe and judgment. "You've done well for yourself," he said. I gave a tight nod. I had to. We made small talk. Justine admired the layout, the kitchen. She paused in the hallway, staring at the family portraits. "Is this your son?" she asked. "Yes, that's Caleb." She blinked. "So I'm an aunt." Her voice cracked a little, but I said nothing. I didn't know what to feel. Then my father placed a hand on my shoulder and led me toward my office, like he still had the right to steer my life. "I need to ask you something important," he began, settling into my chair like he owned it. I stayed standing. "It's about Justine. She and her fiancé are struggling to find a place. Market's crazy these days." My stomach turned. And then he said it. "You've got all this space, 5 bedrooms. You could easily buy another home." I thought, maybe you'd be willing to sell this one to her, cheap. I just stared. "You threw me out with a trash bag," I said. "And now you want my house." "For her?" He blinked like he didn't understand why I wasn't handing over my keys. "Rowena," he said. "She's your sister." I let out a short, bitter laugh. "You mean the sister you chose over me? The one your wife used to destroy my life?" He flinched. "That was a misunderstanding." "No, it wasn't," I cut in. "You called the cops, you threw me out, and now you want my house. For her?" Elaine walked in just then, all polite concern. "We all made mistakes, Rowena. Can't we move forward?" Justine appeared behind her, looking uneasy. "Is something wrong?" I turned to her. "You should know the truth before you ask for anything." Elaine's smile faltered. That's enough. No, it's not, I said coldly, because she's not even his daughter. The room froze. Justine stared at me. What are you talking about? She's Grant's. I saw your mother with him. I heard her admit it. Elaine shook her head. Lies! You've always hated me. But my father's face had gone white. He looked at Justine like he'd never really seen her before. Is this true? Justine turned to Elaine. Mom? No answer. My father demanded a DNA test on the spot. I didn't stay to watch it happen. I'd dropped the match, let the fire take what it would. A week later, he came to my office, hands shaking. No words, just a paper. 0% paternity. He collapsed into a chair and wept. But I didn't feel triumph. I felt hollow. He asked if I knew where Grant was. I didn't. Probably dead. Gone like the rest of this fantasy family. Later that night, everything imploded. He attacked Elaine. 3 fractured vertebrae. Justine called the cops. He's facing prison. Elaine's in rehab. The wedding's off. Now Justine messages me in the middle of the night, saying she doesn't know who she is. Asking for help. Amy tells me to block her. To let it go. And she's right. Because this time, I'm not the one pleading to be heard. This time, I have the power to walk away. I used to think that one day I'd get justice, that if the truth ever came out, I'd feel something, relief, satisfaction, maybe even peace. But when it finally did, I just felt tired. Everything I had carried in silence for 16 years had finally been dragged into the light, and all I could do was stand there, watching it unravel like a threadbare sweater. Justine's messages kept coming. Long, frantic texts about identity, betrayal, guilt. She wanted answers I couldn't give her, wanted connection, closure. But I couldn't be her lifeline. I wasn't the sister she remembered. I wasn't the lost puzzle piece that would make her whole again. She wasn't the girl who broke me, but she was still part of that story, and I couldn't keep rereading it, so I stopped replying. Amy and I focused on our family. Our son Caleb was starting preschool. Our daughter was on the way. The nursery was nearly done, pink and gray with little silver stars on the ceiling, soft rugs underfoot, a rocking chair by the window. The room Justine had once wandered through, eyes full of envy, wondering why we needed so much space. Now every inch of it had purpose, a future, a place where laughter would grow instead of silence. Sometimes I caught myself thinking about Tom, the man who gave me the last $40 he had. I wish he could see me now, see the life I built, the family I protected, the strength I didn't know I had back then. The girl who once slept on concrete now owned 4 properties and had a waiting list of investors asking to work with her. Funny how life works. My father's side of the family started reaching out after the news broke, some to defend him, others to apologize for not stepping in years ago. A few even asked if we could reconnect. None of them ever looked for me when I was sleeping behind dumpsters. Forgiveness isn't a requirement for healing. Sometimes the only thing you need is distance, so that's what I gave myself. I never got revenge. I never needed to. Truth did what I never could. It tore the lies apart from the inside out, and in the quiet that followed, I chose peace. Not for them, for me.